Hi everyone, this is Charmander, and in this video, we're gonna do a first look at the new range hero, Spectra, who is actually a field hero that is going to be released in the game Doomsday Last Survivor. Looking at this hero at first glance, the design looks okay. It's not super eye-catching, kind of like Sophie, which has a really unique design with that zombie in the back, or the other hero, Cedric, who looks like Phantom of the Opera kind of vibe to him. But let's take a look at her actual skill and see how good Spectra is. Her first skill is called Marksman, which is a raid skill that deals up to 14,000 damage. If the target is flank, the damage factor is increased to 15,500. So this is actually huge because Spectra will then become the field hero with the strongest damage factor of all the field range hero. Although you could argue that Sophie is still the strongest because if you have Sophie Awaken and she has the charge automatically at full, then Sophie is technically the strongest. So it's kind of debatable at this time. When not Garrison, reduces enemy attack by an additional 30% for 3 seconds. So this is really cool because it debuffs the enemy that you're fighting with, making it more difficult for them to kill you essentially. The other good thing about this skill is that if you read the description when not Garrison, that means Spectra also has potential to become a very good rally hero pairs for ranged players, as she will create this 30% reduction in enemy attack. So this debuff actually makes her really good in situations where there's a triple rally, for example, like Archipelago Raid, which will cause actually the Garrison hero to deal less damage to whoever is tanking that triple rally. Her second skill is called Aurora Veil, which is a passive skill that increases range squad HP by up to 25%. When taking skill damage, reduces damage taken by own range squad by up to 20% for 3 seconds. This effect can be triggered up to 1 times every 10 seconds. So I don't like the fact that it's every 10 seconds. That's quite a long time for the damage reduction to kick in, although the damage reduction itself is quite high at 20%. I think this is why it's only once every 10 seconds, otherwise it's going to be way too overpowered, but it does make Spectra more tanky in the field as a result. Both this skill is also actually quite good for the purpose of doing rally. So if you are doing a rally, the increase in range squad HP and the reduction in damage taken will also still kick in. So as you can see, Spectra looks like a good hero for dual purpose, field being the main purpose, and also rallies as her secondary purpose. Her third skill is called Prism Ruling, which increases range squad defense by 25%. When performing basic attacks, there is a 20% chance to steal 50 rage from the enemy. This effect can be triggered up to 1 times every 4 seconds. After successfully stealing rage, also steals 8% of skill damage from the enemy for 3 seconds. So this is actually her claim to fame. As far as I can see, this is her best skill because 1 out of 5 chance she's going to be stealing 50 rage from the enemy, and 50 rage is no joke. I'm a little bit confused though at the description where she's also stealing 8% of skill damage from the enemy for 3 seconds. So I'm not sure if this means it's going to negate the skill damage taken from the enemy by 8%, or she's going to take 8% of their skill damage and reflect it back to the enemy. So right now it's a little bit ambiguous on what this actually does. So once this hero comes out, we'll get more data on how this works. Her fourth skill is called Shining Moment, which is a passive skill that increases range squad attack by 20% and increases travel speed by 20%. If target is flank, increases damage received by 15% for 3 seconds after using a rage skill. So the travel speed is a welcome bonus because, as you know, a lot of ranged squads are really slow. This actually makes Spectra a really good hero for an additional range field pairs. The fact that she adds 20% extra range squad attack if the enemy is flank, this kind of screams a little bit kind of like Jack Bronte, where the enemy has to be flanked for him to deal extra damage. So Spectra seems to be a slight modification of what Jack Bronte is capable of doing. But I can definitely see Spectra being an amazing hero for the purpose of running a third field squad. I'm not saying she's going to be the third one. I'm saying if you have 3 of them. So she'll be one of the 3. Her awakened skill is called Precise Reflection, which is a skill enhancement of Prism Ruling. So basically, after awakening, it increases the range squad defense by 25%. When performing basic attacks, there is a 20% chance to steal 50 rage from the enemy. This effect can be triggered up to 1 times every 4 seconds. After successfully stealing rage, also steals 8% of skill damage from the enemy for 3 seconds. So the biggest change here from the description is that 5% increase in squad range defense. And as I have misread earlier, the extra bonus is actually stealing 8% of skill damage from the enemy for 3 seconds. So thinking now at how this works, the fact that they use the word steal means that you can use it, because if you look at the description above, 50 rage from the enemy will be stolen, right? That means that 50 rage will become yours and you can use it. So it sounds like 8% of the skill damage will be taken from the enemy and now you can use it yourself. So it's kind of like a thorn damage where it kind of reflects back to the enemy, although the wording is kind of weird where you're stealing it first and then you're gonna give it back to the enemy as a damage that is going to harm their squad. If we take a look at the strategy here, it looks like IGG wants you to pair up Spectra with Sophie being the leader, because Sophie Sophie obviously has only 900 rage requirement for you to fire that skill damage. So definitely having Sophie and Spectra together is one of the match made in heaven. It definitely gives Julia a run for her money as being Sophie's partner, although it's hard to say right now if Sophie and Julia or Sophie and Spectra would be the more superior combination. I do want to say one thing also is that Spectra looks to be an excellent range rally hero as well, which I really like because it adds different dimensions to the game, different options. So if you want to run the new hero Cedric with Bard, that would be a good option, but you also have the option of using Spectra with Cedric or Spectra with Bard. So you have a little bit of different variation on how you want to approach rally moving forward. I will personally be getting Spectra when she comes out, as she is now a must-have field range hero. I don't think she is stronger than Sophie. I think Sophie is still stronger than Spectra, but I think Sophie and Spectra together might be the strongest range field pair moving forward, just because Spectra also moves fast, unlike Julia, who moves quite slow. That's about it for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.